Okay. Agenda. I have some websites because we have no triage, so it will be fast. So we won't be able to do a demo from Lambic today because I want to show you something huge. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You are just mean, Sébastien. And by the way, you are reading minds.
There's so much want to show us their stuff. I just wanted to make this joke. I hope it's worth it. Because you sold it so much that now I'm always unimpressed whatever I see. So we have a demo from Zoltan and Benedek. I go over the status. Okay, and I talk about what I did, and some others will be able to. So let me share my screen.
Loading.
Okay, so 7 days ago here, 6 days, 7 days. Listable metadata is already explained last week. This one I rebased on.
Hold on, Sebastian, it's still loading for me.
Yeah, still loading. I've got it now.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so adding shape widget, I have a branch. I don't know, it was before I went in vacation. So what was the state of this one? I think Zoltan said we should change some part name. Like the
yeah, because there's a shape part used currently in orchard.templates.
Okay, and I was using the shape. Oh, and we said we should create a shape part. That's what we said?
Yeah. I think we discussed that we should create a template part of something and change that current shape part so we can use it here in the shape widget.
Okay, and you did something. No?
No.
I thought you had done something. I saw something related to this name change recently. I'll check. Okay, so this is the set. So I will see how I can integrate that. Fix some unit test when in 1.x it was because of the AuditTrail, which now is in 1.x. All the unit tests for all were not working because the role service needs a new role event handler. So this was easy. So by the way, the AuditTrail has been merged in 1.x, so it's part as the 1.x distribution now.
I have a question about the listable metadata property. Should that be turned on by default when you create a new content item, content type?
Oh, good question. Yes, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So that's currently not the case.
Yeah,
but
okay.
You can change that. Okay.
Fixing cache client configuration. So the hash code was not working if one of these properties was null. So now it's fixed.
Is that okay to use get hash code?
To use what?
To use get hash code, because it doesn't get hash code differ by machine.
I don't care.
Oh, okay.
In this case, it's just to have a local cache of Azure Cache Services connections.
Okay, well, as long as it doesn't have to differ by machine.
That's fine.
Then
Just
fine.
by configuration identifier on one single machine. It's a static cache, so that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
So this is from Daniel working on the date localization branch. So we'll ignore that. He fixed some exception in AuditTrail. Then Stanley got his pull request from last year, adding a password shape in the forms. So if you want to do the form, if you want to use the forms API, you can use the password shape now. Typos. Changing. What did I do here? Okay. Oh, this is something important actually. This is not critical, but that's a kind of security issue. So when you are using Azure blobs, when it's creating the container, if you said you wanted a private container, it will have been completely private, that's fine. But if you said it's not private, it's public, it was created with a flag that would allow also the blobs listing. So if you have a public container, like for media, for instance, the default usage is for media in Orchard. And this is what most of the users use with the Azure Blob service. So let's say you have your media in blobs, in blobs, then a user could list your media items. Okay, so now it's fixed. It can access the blobs, but it can't list them anymore. So if you don't want that, then you should go on your Azure storage and change the value of your container. So some users who might be impacted are the ones using Azure blobs and have media that they don't want people to know about. If this is the case, then you should change the value you have on your current blob container.
Is this on 1.x or 1.8.x, Sébastien?
This one is 1.8x.
Okay, then I will close an issue because I have one about that.
Sorry. Then fixing control wrapper permission. So it's just not displaying the edit links if you don't have the permission to edit something. A reminder is that wrappers, control wrappers, are some edit links where you're in the front end on each of your content or widgets to edit to go to the edit page directly. What is this? Items show default, again a PR from Stanley, which is that you can now define what is the default value for a setting in the container part. Just some random default settings. This one also from Stanley. So all these pull requests were actually taken after the meeting we had last week. We'll talk about it after. So this one is just to have a nice message if you're trying to use a database which already exists, and instead of failing the setup, it shows you a nice message. Then I updated the binaries, the APIs for the Redis cache. If you have forgotten about it, so Redis now is in public preview. It's still in, is it GA? Well, there has been a change last week, so now it's available in lots of regions and in lots of sizes. So you can use the Redis cache from Azure to store your output cache already right now. And you could use Redis to do lots of things. Removing unnecessary title index for, yes, so in the widgets handler, there was this unindexing title part, but we already have an unindexing iTitle aspect for everything which has a title. So, which means that this one was indexing the titles twice. So it was actually unnecessary and taking more space than needed. So it's fixed. This one is what changing, yeah, as a good comment from Antoine last week, it's called now latest version instead of any version if you want to index the draft in the index. I fixed also the copy paste from the media library. It was broken, I assume because Chrome changed the way it's pasting content or submitting pasted content, I don't know, something like that. So now it's more robust solution. And it's fixed on 1.8x. I also upgraded the jQuery upload plugin. It works. Then I merged 1.18x to 1.x, so all the changes we did on 1.18, all the bug fixes were applied to 1.x. Then Sipke messed up with the layouts module, I assume, fixing some, yeah, it's in the layout branch. No, 1.x. Oh yeah, he fixed something already to get all version, which was not returning the correct version. So he also added some unit test and didn't break anything else. Okay. This is nothing. This is layout. Then this was a pull request from Jeff fixing some permissions check which are not needed at this point. This we don't care. This we don't care. Localization branch, and then Sipke on the layout, and then Nick fixed the Stack Overflow in WebAPI by creating a temporary variable while iterating over lambda. Good. Yeah, this one we talked about 2 months ago, I think.
Yeah, I just forgot to push it. That was all.
Thank you. Then I fixed the list positioning. I think no, actually, this is weird because it never worked. So I looked at the history, and this file, endprogress.js, was correctly written in with a minified version. So if you use the release version of the module, you will not be able to drag and drop list items. So this is fixed now on 1.8x, and yesterday I have added in the index by default the identity part value. So if you want to search by identifier or to use the identifier automatically, that's fine now. You can use it from the search index. It's not analyzed and it's stored. So it's like a technical value. And that's it. Any questions, comments? Something?
Nope.
Okay, so before the demo, last week some of us met on Thursday, and now it's official. If you go on orchardproject.net, Benedek updated the page, and you will see there is this weekly meeting that we have right now, and there is this other one in the same room, okay, where you are right now, on Thursdays, same time, 12 p.m. PST, where we talk about bug triage and pull request reviews and everything. So last week we defined what we should do during these meetings. It took most of the meeting to define what we should do regarding triaging and pull requests. So we all agreed on everything, and we started the work, which led us to take 3 pull requests, I think, after this meeting. All of them from Stanley, and he was there at the meeting. That was nice. And Benedek recorded the meeting, so it's available on here actually. It's this one?
Right.
No?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, this one. No? No, it's not this one.
Yeah, that's the one. So usually the Tuesday meetings will be called weekly podcast, and the Thursday meetings will be called weekly developer podcast. So
okay, so weekly developer podcast. Okay. So yes, this is this one, so you can watch it if you want. The discussions are interesting about how we should handle that. The conclusion was that we also needed to update the pages for how to submit a pull request. And believe me or not, I did it.
Great.
Hated to do that, but I did. So where is that? Contribute.
Your screen is not refreshing for me. Oh yeah, okay. Now it's coming in a batch.
Contributed batches. So I updated the page with everything we said that you should do when you want to do a pull request. I also explained the differences between 1.8x and 1.x, where you should branch from, that you should branch, that you should reuse a fork, that you should create a work item based on your pull request, that how you should write the commit message. There is a formatting issue here. And what we will do with the pull request, explaining that we meet every Thursday, that we review that, and then we will take it into account. And that we will ask you to change some things and things like that. So this is updated, and I updated another page. Okay, I remember now. I updated so this is about the pull request thing. It worked. And I also worked on the roadmap, feature roadmap, which, what is that? Crazy. Unacceptable.
Missing line break?
I don't know. No, because look, it's there.
Yeah, there have to be another blank line before the list.
No, look at this. Maybe here.
Yeah, there.
Okay, committed. So this is the GitHub view. So now I updated the roadmap. I'm calling it 1.9 because it's obvious that after 1.8 we'll have 1.9. I defined date just to have an idea of when we could ship. It might be before, like in September. It won't be in August. In August for sure. I don't expect it to be available in August, but September will be probable. And because we are always late, I said October. So I wrote what was already done and what should be done based on what we started. AuditTrail module done, shipped, well, merged in 1.x. It works, beautiful, done. Draftable widgets, done. There might be bugs, so please report them. It's confusing because now when you save a widget, it's unpublished by default. Maybe I will check if we can have a save and publish button. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah, that confused me as well, actually.
So maybe we are missing a button. We are missing the publish button.
Okay.
In the widget. So yeah, we need to do that. Indexable drafts. So it's done, meaning you can decide if you want to index only the published version or the draft version too. And it's done, 1.x. Date localization refactoring on track. So Daniel is almost done and should merge very soon. Dynamic layout module on track. Sipke is working on that. Owin middleware support. Nick is working on that. Working. So I just need to see if we can fix the upgrade issues related to that. This could be a showstopper for the feature. If we can't fix the message we have when we upgrade, we won't ship like this. But we will fix it. And a probable thing that we could do is also to integrate the new identity stack at some point, but not maybe next version. I'm just putting it here because it's related to Owin. Improved workflow module on track. This is Piotr's branch when he creates the branch. Upgrading to ASP.NET MVC 5.2. So this is something I suppose we can do. It's very low risk and easy to do. So it's on the list. Adding Azure Redis cache support because it's a new service. It's awesome. And it's done. So I put on track because I haven't tested it a lot yet, but it will be done. Upgrading to TinyMC4. Thank you, Nick, for doing that. Nick, I don't know what happened, but during this iteration, you are doing two different things, which is two more than usual.
I try.
So that's great. You are starting to participate to the project. Awesome. All the tasks from 1.8, I moved them at the bottom of the already implemented tasks. So done it for the 5 lists, time zones, jobs queues, templates, business data caching were new in 1.8. I also updated the areas of focus. I might have forgotten some things. REST APIs, localization improvements that we need to do, content navigation and filtering, I think the content tree here, multiple templates for, what is that? I don't know what it is. Oh, this is old stuff maybe, okay. I also made this thing, admin UI improvement, improved admin theme. So this is something I've added. What did I add also? I think that's it. So I must be missing something.
GitHub.
This is not in the list.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing to do. I am missing a deployment module actually. Edit.
What do we want to do with analytics? Because there are so many analytics tools out there. I mean, client-side analytics, application monitoring. Shouldn't we just focus on probably having better integration for them?
Actually, to be discussed, and people are, it's been there in the list for ages, to be discussed. I don't disagree with you. Maybe if there is an analytics module on the gallery, I wouldn't mind either. You know, like integrated analytics, like WordPress does. People maybe want that without having to set up something on Google Analytics, for instance. It can also be integration with Google Analytics, both of them. To be discussed. I haven't thought about this.
My other one would be commerce and the forums stuff in domain specific. Yeah, you got commerce, which Noisette has got their commerce module, which is quite popular, and obviously I've got the forums module. So yeah. I don't know.
I can put them in as first-class citizens, but forums.
It would be worth talking about half that backlog, the future iterations, and seeing whether we want to drag that kind of stuff in or not.
Yep. So this thing at the end is not new. Okay, I just update. So it's been there for ages. So we can talk about it, but yeah, priorities. What do we want first? If you see that, people will say localization, REST API, deployment module, okay, and bug fixing. That's what people will want first. Just priorities. Okay, that's it. So, guys, your turn.
All right. I will start to share my screen, and while it's loading, Benedek, let me know when you can see my screen. While it's loading, I will just paste in some links. So, what's the goal here, or where we started? We at Lombik are quite good at Orchard, and we very much like Orchard. So we have issues when we don't do Orchard because we are done with everything else. So what should we do? We could, for example, change everything to be Orchard. So we only have to do Orchard and nothing more, and nothing else. So that's the aim, pretty much, of the Orchard application host. And I see that it's loaded for Benedek, so that's great. Because the Orchard application host is a lightweight framework that allows you to run your code like it would run inside Orchard, but from any application. So here's a sample that you can actually access and fully download or clone from the Bitbucket repository. And this is a console application that I will now run, and which is actually Orchard. So this console app here is an Orchard application. It's not using Orchard in a separate app domain and communicating it with remoting. It is using Orchard directly. And by the way, what it does, it runs the setup. Because how you use it, and there is this exception all the time for logging, but that doesn't really matter. Because what it does, that it starts an Orchard shell, or rather a whole Orchard application that you can use to run your code inside it. So what it's, how you can use it is demonstrated in 3 samples. One that runs the setup, another one that runs a loop like you would see in console applications, and one that demonstrates how to use all this in a very thin Orchard shell without running setup, without using database, anything. Yeah, so you will see Berhan. But I mentioned the main point that this is not using remoting, because how Orchard.exe works is that it loads Orchard into a separate app domain and it communicates with it through .NET remoting. So, for example, you can't use Orchard services from inside Orchard.exe. I mean, from inside the console application's code, because the console application's code is not an Orchard application. But what I show you is. So, for example, that this one demonstrates this sample how to run the setup from all this. So you can actually, well, really run a setup from, for example, a console application. That's actually an Orchard setup. There is an Orchard application host. It is a service with a very simple interface, actually. It is here. This is the Orchard application host's interface. And this is basically the Orchard application, a wrapper and a layer above Orchard framework that you can use in any application, in this sample in a console application. Because, yeah, it's quite simple. First, you have to call the startup. This is basically the application starting. And then you can use this run method to run an arbitrary piece of code, so a delegate in this process inside Orchard. So anything happening inside this process delegate will behave and work and feel like it would be in Orchard. So really everything works. Dependency injection, caching, data access through repositories, through content queries, through the whole content manager, utilities, logging, everything works from here. And you can also give it a shell name, because just as it is with a multi-tenant Orchard application, you can have multiple shells here as well. And as you can see from this task being returned, everything here is async, and multi-threading is built in. So you can actually call this run method with your arbitrary Orchard process from a multi-threaded application as well. And this was not a trivial task, because everything here behaves pretty much like it would be in a background task. So there is no HTTP context, of course, and nothing like in a web request. So back to our sample. Here is what runs the setup. Yeah, we use a static factory for not just instantiating, but also starting a host. That, by the way, can take many configuration options. And just let me go back. Here are these configurations that you can use for your application host. For example, you can specify where to store the app data. You can specify folders for modules, core modules, and themes. And there can be multiple passes where these can be loaded from. And by the way, this is optional. So you could create a very thin Orchard shell that doesn't load any modules, any modules from folders, because, by the way, you can't just use these modules, but you can also import extensions. Import extensions is basically a fast track for loading Orchard extensions. And what it does basically, that here I added this program itself, so the console application, and imported it as an extension. So this console application will be loaded as an Orchard extension, and this way, for example, everything here will work. So I'm going a bit, I'm jumping a few steps here, but for example, here is a test service. That is an iDependency, that is an implementation. This will get registered in the Orchard shell, as you would normally expect from a module, from inside a module, although this is a console application. You can also write shell events like it is here. So it's just implementing iOrchard shell events, and it writes to the log, but by the way also works, of course. what is its manifest. For imported extensions, there is no need to give a manifest. So there is one actually generated automatically. So it's generated automatically, so you will have a module called lombik.orchard.host.sample, and by the way, you will also have features, and that is automatically generated as well. Because as you can see, I have an orchard feature attribute on this shell event implementation. I don't have a corresponding feature declaration in any manifest. There is no manifest. But still there will be a feature named like this automatically generated on the fly, and I can opt whether to enable it or disable it, because actually in this section is where for the default shell we enabled the imported sample extension and also this shell events extension that contains this shell events test implementation. And by the way, enabling and disabling features works on the fly normally, even with this transient host that I will show last. For a set of features, yeah, so there is no feature description. We didn't think that it's necessary here, because this is really a fast way of loading an extension. You could still load extensions as you would normally from arbitrary folders. So if you want to have full-blown modules, you can do that still. But this is really a direct way of loading extensions. And there was another question. What about dependencies? Yeah, dependencies in this case, it's not taken care of. But what you could do, for example, is that you can hook into. No, sorry. There is no care taken about dependencies automatically. But if you specify the dependencies in these enabled features configuration, then those will be enabled on startup. So in effect, the dependencies will be enabled as well. But then again, this is just for directly importing extensions. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. You can use normal modules and themes even. Thanks. I hope it's cool. So back again, there is this setup. By the way, here you see, we created the Orchard application host, and inside that we run these run methods. By the way, you see this run method accepts some type parameters as well. This is actually an overload, one of the many extension methods that are available for this iOrchard app host interface, because just so I quickly go back, because this iOrchard app host interface is just really this simple, so you have this simple run, but there are some extension methods like this one that makes things a bit more convenient. So for example, like this, with these type parameters, you can directly inject dependencies into your delegate that comes next. So what happens happens here is that we inject the setup service, so we can actually run the setup. So this was the first thing that has run here at the beginning. Okay, so it's rolled over because in the background there is also a loop running. And we also injected the shell settings to just be able to see that it works. Okay, actually, let me show it again. Because first, in this first run, the setup runs. We will be able to see the setup done message shortly. And in this next run, we use the newly set up Orchard application and use the site service like we do from a normal application. So you can see here we had a console write line site name and shell settings.name. Here we have the site name and the shell name. That was the setup host. That was the setup example. Yeah, so it's pretty much like that. And there are some more examples. Just quickly go over them. Here is an example that demonstrates some other the ability to use some other features and services. Yeah, this is running everything in a loop, but you would probably do in a worker role or really in a console application if you would happen to write that. Here we again start an Orchard app host, and inside this well, let's call it event loop, we call these runs again. We can use a logger service as well. Well, this is a bit lame because it won't contain the type name, the real type name in the log, but you can use this logger service to have an injectable logger for simple cases. Because we can of course use the clock as well, and there is also an overload for these run methods to run everything in a transaction. Because yeah, this will behave pretty much like in an Orchard request where you have an ambient transaction throughout the request. You can either handle the transaction here. Well, first of all, it depends on whether you use data access at all. But if you use it, you can opt with having an ambient transaction here as well, or you can handle the transaction yourself. And to demonstrate that it also it doesn't lose the scope and the work context, even if with async code, we have this does the delay here as a simple demonstration. And this is what runs here, actually, the never-ending loop that will only exit when I hit Control-C. No, there is absolutely no modification in the core. There are some services that needed to be overridden, but not many, and there is no modification in the core. Well, yeah, actually, Piotr's PowerShell command line interface could use this, yeah, because this directly connects to the Orchard database and to everything that Orchard uses. So, yeah, you could actually integrate that this with that. So, let's go over to the last sample. That is, I think, the coolest, although it's very simple. This demonstrates how to use what we call a transient host. Is there anything? Is Piotr here? Yeah, probably he will just see the recording. A transient host in our terminology is a very thin Orchard shell that doesn't use any data access by default, that you don't need to set up, it just runs. So when you start a transient host, you can just start using Orchard right away, Orchard services. This transient host wasn't actually set up, or it doesn't need any setup. Again, it doesn't need any modules. You could, for example, remove all these configurations here, and it would still work. It has implementations that are really transient, non-persisting, for example, for shell descriptor management and shell settings management. So even there is no data access, there is no database, you don't have to run setup. You can still use features like you can run multiple shells at the same time. You can enable and disable features like you would normally in Orchard. It will work, and the state will be kept until the application is closed. But nothing is persisted. It doesn't need any persistent. So it's very, very fast to start. It's very low overhead. So when I hit Control-C here, this loop sample will end, and now the transient host will start. And as you can see, it was very fast. So there is no work going on here. Just current date is printed. But this was actually a new Orchard shell started, a new Orchard application started, and inside that a new shell. And like it was below 1 second to start and run. And of course, from subsequent host.run calls here, you would be able to reuse the same shell. So even that almost 1 second penalty wouldn't be existing, but it will be instantaneous. It would happen instantly. Yeah, and even here we can use this test service, for example, that I showed you before. That's an iDependency and got registered in this transient host. So, for example, what you could use this for is to use every feature from Orchard to empower your work inside, well, even a console application, but this is just a sample. But what we had in mind from the beginning is cloud services. Cloud workers and worker roles. and probably also Windows services. So big applications that are not web applications, so normally you wouldn't be able to use Orchard in, but still it would be awesome to use everything that's in Orchard to make your worker or service or whatnot better structured, probably even faster, and use everything that's already baked into Orchard, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I'm happy that you're almost passing out, Sipke, but don't pass out. Yeah, Nick, there is pretty much no configuration that you need to do. So this configuration that we have here, this is the full configuration. This is just for demonstration. Actually, the only one that you would need is probably this one. So to specify the app data folder already, although there is a default configuration for this, and probably even this one. So this one and the import and extensions one, if you want to import an extension, of course. Yeah, so you wouldn't need that, and especially not for transient hosts. These caches are disabled by default, and by default there is also a log4net configuration that actually happens from code. So this console application is very lightweight as well. So as you can see, it has a reference to log4net, but only because we have some log4net configuration sample here. But it has a reference to the app host framework, to Orchard core, but this is not mandatory either, because this is only needed if you want to use the core modules, and you only need the Orchard.framework reference. You don't need setup if you are only using transient hosts, and you don't need SQL Server CE if you are using a transient host. And there is no app config. Well, there is an app config, but this is just the default one. There is nothing Orchard specific here, because the log4net configuration also happens from code, and you can alter it from code. So, well, actually there is a log4net configuration in C# that's pretty much the same that's in the default log4net.config file in Orchard. And this is solely here, so we don't have to include any config file if we don't want in our application, because everything can happen from code. You don't need any hidden dependencies or magic happening in the background. So that's it, guys. I hope it's cool.
Questions?
Sorry?
No, I was asking people if you had any question. I have some questions.
Shoot.
So can we replace the current CLI then? Will it be better?
I don't know whether it would be better, but we could replace it, yeah. So
one thing
yeah,
which could be better is the startup time, for instance. Because if we use the current CLI, we actually set up a website.
Yeah, this is not needed here.
So we should see if it's faster to launch yours than the current one.
It is. It's much faster.
Or I will try it with a website containing hundreds of tenants just to see.
Well, please do it.
And
you can access the code
by default also.
Yeah. So as I explained, it's a full-blown Orchard application under the hood. So nothing was taken away. You can use multiple shells. Yeah.
Okay. So when you say .run, there was a parameter. This was the tenant name.
Yeah, there's a shell name parameter. There's a default, and that's default, but you can specify it. So you can actually run multiple Orchard applications with multiple Orchard shells inside the same application.
Can I just launch one tenant?
Yeah.
So just one tenant will be loaded, even if I have 10 tenants in my website?
No, that wouldn't work because default orchard host loads all the tenants on application star. You could do that with the Omnic hosting suite, because we do that actually, but by default, every tenant is started on application star.
Could you try to run it as an Azure web job?
I believe you could, because as a web job, as far as I know, you can run any console application.
Yeah, but you have to tag your methods. If you could try that, that would be nice. So we could have scheduled tasks as console apps and not background tasks. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So for instance, you could say, oh, every week I want to clean the search index, I want to clean the versions and everything. And it could be a web job, it could be any administrative task you want to run, and you will not have to deploy Orchard to add new code, just a console app for that.
Well, I've never used WebJob, so I'm not sure about that.
That's your task for next week, because you have free Azure usage, so that's fine.
Yeah, the only thing that you have to take care about is that, of course, when you have an Orchard website and there's a web job that's also Orchard, then that's basically a multi-server Orchard application. So you have to take care about everything that comes with that.
Other scenarios than having a console app?
Still console app, but I like to write short bits of code, without having to write a module that, does some maintenance, for example, on a website. And this would be a great way to do it. I don't have to write a module. I don't have to write a specific command line. I can just write a throwaway one-time piece of code. So this would be really useful for that.
And this will even
be
useful if you could select which tenant you want to load and just one. But this will require core changes.
Yeah.
Unless you override the default host with your custom host.
Or the shell settings manager, that will be just enough.
Yeah, that will be great, because this is an issue I have when I want to do some administrative tasks on the website, like Bertrand is saying, with some custom code, or if I just want to run the current orchard.exe and I have hundreds of websites, it's almost unusable. Because I have hundreds of websites, it's very slow to start.
Yeah, you should totally get a license for the hosting suite.
No, I just want your console app with one tenant. I don't want your hosting suite.
You will get the hosting suite even if you don't.
We need a license also for this console app?
Yeah, a new BSD one.
Okay.
A simplified BSD one. It's open source. And by the way, another example, usage example I also mentioned would be a service or a worker. So what's still a bigger application with many pieces of logic, many classes, services, data access, whatnot, but it's not a web application.
That's why I'm mentioning web jobs, because it's the same thing integrated in Azure. And if you want to host a service if you want to host a service, you need to own the server, which is less and less frequent. So you use a hosting company. So you don't have access to services which are run. It's different. You can say, oh, I want to host this console app in the background thread and run it every day. So this will be the solution. And practically, is it just about one new project in the Orchard solution, and then I can create console apps using this project in the same solution?
Yes.
So it's just one new project, and then we have new console app.
Yeah. Yeah. So one new project.
Console apps. Yeah. Okay. And can I do a website which references your project?
Well, you could create a console application that actually self-hosts an Orchard website.
No, I mean I create a website like you created a console app, and on the click of a button, like a web forms app, and on the click of a button, it does something using the Orchard.
Yeah.
Or a Windows app, no?
Yes, a Windows app as well.
Like run this task, or I don't know, create this content item, or delete that, or like a Windows app to manage my Orchard installation.
Yeah, you could do that. You could totally do that. So you just need to start the Orchard app, well, the Orchard application host inside that. That will take 1 second. And after that, you can call that run method on it. And inside that, you can run arbitrary code. So you can even do that from Windows application.
As long as it touches just the database, that's fine.
And as long as you have references, project references to the relevant types.
That's cool. Yeah, it will be good for lots of administrative tasks, content migration also.
Let me know if there are any issues or if you have any ideas.
Okay. Good. Anyone has other questions? So next week is Orchard as a NuGet package?
Yeah, that would actually be awesome for this too, because then you could say package management install Orchard and Orchard app host, and you have Orchard.
Yeah. Umbraco has that. I think they have Umbraco as a NuGet package. So you can, from Visual Studio, instead of going download the package on Codeplex and then here from Visual Studio you could say, get me Orchard. This will need, I think, to be, well, we have two options. It could either be the web package one with all the binaries and no source code. That will be fine. Or this could be the source version without the test and everything. So that could be different NuGet packages. But that would be cool to start a new Azure website, so we don't have to tell people go on the website, go on the download site and unzip it and open Visual Studio. From Visual Studio you could say, give me Orchard, new Orchard, done. That would be cool. So next week, Benedek. Okay. Cool. So I have if no one has any question, thank you, Zoltan. I have some website. I haven't shown any website for a long time, so I will just show you some new websites here, and I will share my screen. And open them. Okay. So we have this. So should I wait for Benedek?
It's loaded now. Thanks.
So a few websites. This one is travel website, very nice one. Upward.org, also nice one about sport, lots of pictures. It's a blog. You can get involved. I'm interested into soccer. Very nice one. Slicebread.co.uk. What is it here? Microsoft Gold Certified IT Consultancy, Manchester. So Nick's friends. Very nice. IT. Slicebread. This one, Unite for Good. Also very nice design. Interesting layout. And the latest is one from One Stop, I assume. I think it's from One Stop. I look at the source code. Yes, One Stop. E-commerce, juicy couture. Lots of traffic on this one. It appears to be one of the top 10 Orchard websites in terms of traffic. So that's huge. So this is about the new websites I wanted to show you. And I think Nick is asking a question. So no, he doesn't want to talk about that. So we will end the meeting then.
No. A lot of people are talking on the forums about GitHub, especially because we got spam the other day. I even pinged Codeplex about the spam, but they never replied.
Well, temporary issues, we have seen that some months ago also, but temporary issues, people manage to, I don't know, go over the spam. And I'm sure you can get some spam also on GitHub.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, it's just.
Oh, no, you will not get some spam on GitHub because you can't write forums on GitHub. So that fixes the issue, correct? But good question. Should we move on GitHub? Why? When? How? The only drawback today moving on GitHub would be the forums, because there are no forums on GitHub.
Yep.
Okay. This is a technical issue because we use the forum a lot. So the solutions to this issue will be to use a different service for the forum than on GitHub. So people will go on GitHub for the source code or for the work items and go on a different service for the forum. This is sad because today the integration between the forum and the work items in Codeplex is very nice.
Yeah.
Second solution will be to have a forums module in Orchard, if it exists, and host the forums on the website, the Orchard website, and maybe do some changes to integrate with the issue tracking, so that you can, I don't know, tag issues. When you write I don't know, hashtag and the number, it will do a link directly to the work item on GitHub, things like that. I'm sure it's possible. Rob is suggesting to have a site on Stack Exchange. Why not? But it's not a forum. Sometimes you just want to talk about things and you don't have a specific issue and you want to fix that. So there. We've looked at Discourse. Discourse is not free. It's 200 setup and something like 10 or 20 per month to have a Discourse instance. So yeah, and this will still be one of the solution of having it externalized from GitHub or Orchard. I think this is the solution, because if it's completely different, it will be weird. I prefer to have that in the Orchard website and completely separate. Ideally, it should be in GitHub.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, is that not on GitHub's backlog?
I have no idea. Maybe, but what is a backlog? Is it 2 years from now? 3 years?
I don't think GitHub's going to be doing anything related to forums. They don't see it as related to their mission. The same thing with mailing lists. They've said repeatedly they won't do it. They just don't see it as related to what they're there for. They feel they're just a programming website.
I saw a nice blog post from a very famous JavaScript developer who was moving their issue tracker from GitHub to Google, I think, or something like that. No, they have their forums in Google, and they were talking about this, and they said that they prefer to invest time in 3D editors and I don't know what modules on GitHub than enhancing their services. That was weird. So we don't know. There won't be any forum on GitHub right now. No official announcement. That's the issue, the forum. So you can come with some solutions, suggestions.
Is it possible to export the discussion board of Codeplex in some way? Maybe you could arrange it if it's not an existing feature. To import it into Nix Forums module if the forum is moved to the website.
You can't export anything from the Codeplex forum.
Mm-hmm.
You can scrape data using a crawler and then use the Lombi console app to import it in AuditTrail. But that will be it. This is the only way I'm sure to export things.
Cool.
Yep.
I have one more question. At the moment, we run on .NET 4.5. What do you think about moving to .NET 4.5.1?
Moving means having a strong dependency on that, and I don't know what is the spread of 4.5.1 in hosters.
No, I thought the same thing. It was. I'm only bringing it up because I know that Christian has mentioned it before, so I said I would bring it up. I mean, I had a look online at some of the benefits of 4.5.1, and they said there was application startup benefits and some perf stuff, but I'm not really too sure because I haven't looked at it myself.
Let's do a simple review of the main hosters that we are using and what is the version they are using. First on Azure, I don't know, Arvix and Jarhost, Bluehost, things like that. What people are using and what version they have on their servers. If most of them are 4.5.1, maybe. But again, if we decide to change, it might break some people and it will be...
Of course, it's
4.5. Okay, good. 2 years after 4.5.
I mean, the other question is it worth it? If we're looking...
Is the risk worth it? What's the risk? And if everyone is on 4.5.1, fine.
Yeah, that's fine. So I just thought, is it worth it if we're looking towards vNext, for example? Even though vNext is a year off.
The vNext?
Yeah, what your mate showed, Taylor and...
ASP.NET vNext, okay.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Like, would it be better to focus on that rather than 4.5.1? That kind of divide.
Actually, I don't know which framework vNext is requiring on the desktop, if it's 4.5 or 4.5.1, 4.5.2, something like that. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
Well,
no, because the framework is bundled with it.
Sorry?
Isn't it? Isn't the framework bundled with it? So...
No, it's not in the .NET framework.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, so yeah. So 2 questions, GitHub Forums. And second question, what version on which hosters? Okay, I want answers next week.
And I want answers too.
That is what you can answer. Just half an hour search and that's it.
Then you tell me how to do that Owen stuff, and I'll do that.
Okay, thank you, guys. Have a nice week.
Cheers,
See you
guys.
on Thursday for the ones who care about triaging and pull requests. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Zoltan.